look at next steps.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave that funding issue, that $14 million I know is spread out over a period of time, but I also know that we have a school, or rather a county budget, some $800 million, I believe, is our budget. Plus, if we start looking at this and we know that depreciation on the sale of property is causing the assessed value to go down of our houses, we can expect probably a $160 million deficit in our operating budget next year. I just quickly calculated here that that's going to be about 15 cents on the tax rate that we have to go up to handle this cost, and we need to be looking at some way to get that money from the federal government, who is responsible. As he said just a minute ago, we can't do a thing that the ICE folks don't allow us to do, and it seems to me that we ought to be pitching to the federal government for this $14 million, because right now that's going to come out of the taxpayer of Prince William County's pocket, and the senior citizens, the people that can least afford it, really need to know what they're getting for their dollar here, and make sure that we consider this before we go too far along the line.
Mr. Jenkins, I'm not.
Numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure where the 15 cents came from.
Well, just a quick calculation. I can tell you.
1 cent of the tax rate is approximately $6 million.
No. Not now. Not with the depreciation and the assessments going down. It won't be nearly that.
It'll be very close to it.
No.
Let's say it's 5 cents, whatever it is. It's not going to be 15 cents in the rate to fund this.
You're already proposing a proffer increase of some $59,000, and now you're talking about $14 million here. I think before we start making decisions, we need to know what the costs are, and we need to have a retreat. And I guess the October retreat will be the place to start talking about this. But how do we know that these are the right numbers? If we can only deport 40 people per month, and I think that's what ICE has already said we could do, then, you know, you turn your funnel around and you got the small end of the funnel at the top. Unless ICE increases that number of 40 to about 400 per month, then we're not going to make any dent in this thing.
So, well, let me just go back to my original point here.
Okay.
We don't have to argue cents.
I agree. I'm just.
But what I am going to say is this: is that we have a budget of $850 million, which is split with the school system. The approximate cost of this program over a 5-year period is $14 million. So roughly a little bit less than $3 million per year. $3 million in the whole scheme of things in an $850 million budget is not going to break the bank. It's not going to cause any significant increase in anybody's tax bill. And to say that it's 15 cents on the tax bill is a gross overestimation of the impact. We just
appropriated out of this year's operating budget $1.38 million. Now that is a one-time appropriation that has to be made up. I mean, you know, it's out of one-time funds. And so I've been doing this budget now for 25 years, and I'm not going to be that much off on my projections here. I can guarantee you that. I've got numbers here, and now's not the time to debate that. We ought to debate that in a retreat where we look at the financial obligations that we have for this county for the next 5 years and make sure that we don't bite off more of the federal government's budget requirements than we can handle. And that's all I'm saying is, you know, let's make sure the federal government understands that this is something that we're picking up that's their obligation, but our taxpayers locally are bearing the brunt of that.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms.
if
Cadigan.
I may just comment, I think I just want to follow up on Mr. Jenkins. When Chief Dean first came to us and we talked about illegal immigration, which this board unanimously supports, it was stated by me at that particular time, you're going to need extra funding in the budget, more resources. Now, we have schools that we have to take into consideration, and I think we need to be upfront with the people when we have this board retreat, what it's going to cost to take care of this, what it's going to cost to bring our schools up to date, what it's going to cost for the promises that have been made to the police and the fire department of things that you have promised them that they are going to get, basically everything they've asked for. So we need to know if it is going to be 15 cents so that the public is aware of a tax increase. We know there will be a tax increase, and I think you have stated that on TV, that there will be a tax increase, and you're supportive of that. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct, Ms. Cadigan. But let me make this clear. We have an $850 million budget. $3 million per year is not going to cause a tax increase. There may be other things that we're going to have to look at in the budget and other problems that we're facing this year because of assessment decreases. But this crackdown on illegal immigration, this initiative, is not going to cause those problems. Those budgetary problems and challenges that we're facing this year are already here. And we can come up, you can come up, and Mr. Jenkins can come up with all the excuses you want not to support this crackdown, but I'm going to be supporting it.
We are not saying that, Mr. Chairman, and...
Let me say real quick, right up
Whoa. Don't
Point of
speak
order,
for
Mr.
me.
Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman,
Point of order,
Mr.
Mr.
Stirrup.
Chairman. Point of order. You do not have the floor, sir. My point of order was that you were not recognized to speak.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jenkins?
I want to be sure that you understand that when you take a tax rate of, let's say, 80 cents and multiply that by 100, you get one factor. Now, when you take a tax rate of 97 cents and multiply it by 100, you're going to get another number. But the point is that you won't have 100 as your base to multiply it by if the assessments of the homes are down 30%. You only have 70%. And so, you know, you got to take a look at, people can take figures and make them say anything they want to, but I'm telling you the reality of this thing is that when the assessments of the homes, and we've been told they're going to be probably 20 or 30% below, there are 27 notices in yesterday's Potomac News for foreclosures. When we know that there are going to be 30% decreases in the assessed value, then the pool is so small, the $850 or $60 million budget we have is no longer a realistic budget that we had for fiscal year 08, because we don't know what the FY09 budget is. We got population increases in there that we have to figure in, new children to educate. So I believe that in order to raise that amount of revenue, if we go with these figures without any kind of challenge to them, we're going to have to raise taxes up to about 15 cents on the tax rate.
We can argue the budget at a different time, but I just want to ask you a point to clarify, and this is for Ms. Cadigan too. Are you saying that you don't want to support this initiative until we receive the, this is my question to you, that you don't want to support this initiative until we receive the budgetary figures that are going to come out on the October 11th retreat?
Mr. Chairman, I did not say that. I think this board is in support of supporting, we are not in favor of illegal immigration. What I'm saying to you is, because I've listened to you on the TV and I've seen comments in the paper, just so the citizens know, we're at 75 cents per 100 of assessed value, lowest that we have ever been. That amount of money has been dropped over the past several years. As the chairman of this board and speaking on behalf of the board, this is an extra $3 million a year that we had not anticipated. I think that Chief Dean has made a wonderful presentation, and I think we want to go forth with this. But I want people to know that the money has been very austere in this past budget. Our schools have never suffered as much as they have this year. School has opened, and I've heard from several of the teachers. As I stated, you have already talked to the public safety, to the police, and to the firemen, and you have promised them a great deal of things because it's endorsement time and it's election time. I just want you to know as the chairman not to do what you've done in the past, support something and then vote no on a budget, which you did for 3 years. We need to say to the public, your taxes are going to be raised not just for this, but because our assessments are down and because we have children to educate, we have public safety, and we have human services. That's all that I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is that you need to realize that. I know you signed a tax pledge, but we cannot do everything at the amount of money that we have. That's what I'm saying. I have been a proponent of supporting, my community does. We are opposed to illegal immigration. The word is illegal, not immigration, but illegal. And so please don't put words in my mouth.
Well, but if you could just answer the question, then, are you going to be supporting the resolution funding this or not?